Hi everyone, happy Monday.
Good morning.
Eric, and welcome back. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
for
great to
those
be
who
back.
don't know, Eric was off last week because he was in Washington D.C. Um,
I was for the
yeah.
first time. And actually, I guess that's a good segue into the first topic we're going to talk about today because it wasn't planned this way, but it worked out that the first visit that I've ever made to the US Capitol, to the White House, and to the Supreme Court also happens to be the day that I suspend my campaign for the US House of Representatives. If we could get that slide up.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's right. I have the full control of the slides. Excuse me.
I'm at I'm at Sukuru's mercy over here.
Oh, hold on. Too
Well,
fast.
just quickly,
Oh,
I think it would be remiss of me to be hosting a news hour without giving a quick update on my own news and a bit of news that kind of affects everybody else. But I am suspending my campaign for U.S. Congress to represent San Francisco in the United States House of Representatives. I launched this campaign a year ago. Actually, that's how me and Tsukuru met. Tsukuru was originally on my staff for my campaign for Congress, and there's so much I could say right now. I'm trying to keep it short so we can get to the news. That also I want to put the focus on going forward in the future. But essentially, I launched this campaign out of a deep conviction to do something for San Francisco. I think that here in San Francisco, we are dealing with a pandemic of very failed leadership. And I felt as though no one was fighting for the next generation. No one was fighting for the future of this planet and for the future of my hometown, the future of the working class. And that's why I jumped in to what many people had no problem pointing out was a David and Goliath situation. And I'm fully aware of that. And I'm still incredibly proud of the work that we did. I'm incredibly proud of what we accomplished. Um, but with that being said, can we show the next slide?
oh.
I'd like to
Oh.
use this opportunity to point everyone watching to not only my exit statement, so you can hop on over to my Twitter right there at Eric Curry SF, where the pinned tweet will have my exit statement. But most importantly is that if you scroll down into the comments, I posted the joint statement that that Shahid Buttar and I released on the 4th, so 10 days ago. We released a joint statement where we highlighted our similar treatment and our similar interactions with a lot of the grassroots groups here in San Francisco. I think that a lot of people, not only in San Francisco, but across the country, would be pretty shocked to hear and to understand what Shahid and I have had to go through with a lot of these progressive grassroots groups here in San Francisco. And I'm ashamed and a little upset that it's been crickets. It's been crickets from a lot of these groups that are incredibly racist, are protectors of white supremacy, and it's embarrassing that a lot of this effort was spearheaded by the queer establishment. And as a gay candidate, I feel a particular sense of obligation to call these out. So please, if you get the opportunity, my exit statement's up there, that's fine. I'm no longer in the race, but I'm here to endorse Shahid Buttar, and we must do everything necessary, everything possible to make sure that Shahid Buttar is elected the next representative from San Francisco. We cannot have 2 more years of Nancy Pelosi and then have the Pelosi dynasty. She's an evil woman, and we cannot saddle the rest of the country. Like, the future of our country depends on us having a leader who understands the urgency of the climate crisis, the urgency of what the working class is going through, and that person is Shahid Buttar. With that being said, I'll point you back to my statements. Please share those far and through, but that's that as far as my campaign for Congress.
Well, thank you, Eric. I just have to say, as a someone who's watched you, throughout these last months, and first as a staffer, but like we became friends. And
I gained a
anyway,
brother.
I just feel that I have so much respect for you as a person and what you've tried to do and continue to do. And I think, okay, regardless of what some people would say, that was worth it, I think. Okay, it cost you a lot. I know, it was very stressful for you in many ways, but I think you made an impact. You brought very important issues to the forefront, of people's consciousness, and so yeah, thank you so much and well done.
Thank you. That means a lot. And this is only the beginning. My commitment, my vision, and my plan for the people, the working class people of San Francisco and of the United States, is only, it only begins. It's only this is only the beginning. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I guess on to this week's news or today's news. Okay.
Oh boy, let's talk about this. So, many of you know that I guess my day job, you can call it, is I'm a tour guide here in San Francisco, and this is a topic that comes up in one of my tours. Is this concept of all these empty buildings that we have. As a matter of fact, just last week, we had a rally here in San Francisco because the supervisors want to pass an empty homes tax because there's something like 40,000 empty homes in San Francisco, which is ridiculous. But let's get back to the first question is, why is Biden making this big push to get people back into the office, to get people back into the workforce? The pandemic is not over. But for all intents and purposes, it's that we're acting as though it is, as though we're on the end of this.
Yeah. I don't know. And okay, maybe I'm like kind of jumping ahead, but this article is, implying, of course, there's money involved, right? Yeah.
One of my friends pointed something out, that the whole reason why there's this push to get people back into the office is because otherwise, what's the whole point of capitalism and of building these big buildings, and creating these work environments? So here in San Francisco, that's the example that I use. We have a lot of tech companies, and some of these companies, you can get your dry cleaning, you can get your they feed you 2 meals, they you can bring your pet to work, all these different amenities that these places offer you. And at first it sounds great, but let's get to the heart of the matter. The reason why they're providing all these things for you is so that you spend as much time as possible at the office. And so they're squeezing as much productivity as they can out of you. Well, all of a sudden that disappears if you're not coming into the office anymore. And it begs the question, what are we going to do with all of these buildings and with all of this infrastructure, that required people to come in?
Yep. Of course, commercial property owners are not happy about this at all, about, the pandemic, because they have been, I don't know about exactly having losing business, but it's been stagnant at least. And that's, commercial real estate business is huge. So naturally, they have political power to push. So yeah. I'm not surprised, Biden wants to, convince us back into the office. But as Jesus is pointing out here too, I mean, with the gas price, the way
Insane.
it's just ridiculous, for him to encourage, and irresponsible for him to encourage people, go back to the office, because, I mean, all these commutes that people gonna do, if people are forced to do, yeah, I
If
mean,
it's
that's ridiculous.
costing
People
you,
dying, with the weight of
totally.
this expense. I'm lucky because I work from home, so, but hey, yeah.
No, it's pure madness. Like with how expensive gas is it even profitable for people to commute into work anymore? Forget the pandemic. So it's like, okay,
Mm.
we're not going to do anything about gas, which let's be very, very clear. The gas that is raised right now, it is literally price fixing. It is illegal collusion by the oil companies, because what's going on in Russia should have no impact on the gas. We are not that dependent on Russian oil, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So what's going on is pure, unregulated capitalism. And every single damn one of us should be in the streets pissed off about this, because how much are we going to take? How much can they squeeze us? God damn it, if you want us to go to work, make it easy for us to go to work. Sorry.
Yay, Eric.
Like,
I love it. Yeah, you're not running for office anymore, so just let it all out. Let it all out. But
this will be my outlet.
yeah,
Come
no,
on,
I
people.
mean, why are we doing this? Yeah, no, I think it's like, in many counts, it's just ridiculous that, like, he wants back in your offices. It's just ridiculous.
You're not going to raise the minimum wage. Inflation is just absolutely insane. You're not going to give the people health care. You're not going to subsidize gas prices. But so it's like, what on earth are you giving these people to work on? At some point, it doesn't even make business sense. Like, give the people an inch so then you can use them for a mile, right? It does not make any sense, and it's not sustainable. And I don't think that anybody's thinking about that.
Right. And I mean, they are making another argument for businesses. Businesses are suffering in and around, like, so-called business and financial districts, which is true, which has been the case. But then, like, the article points out, like, okay, so why not convert all these office properties into housings, so that people can live there, and that will revitalize the area business as well, right?
And this is the idea behind the empty homes tax, is that right now we are in a situation. This is, I've lived in California my entire life. This was a problem in Santa Barbara. This was a problem in Los Angeles. This is a huge problem in San Francisco. The issue is that wealthy landowners, wealthy landlords, it's better for them economically, tax-wise, for them to write off their empty unit as a loss than to rent it at an affordable rate. And what we should be doing as a government, what we should be doing is removing that option. Okay. If there's 40,000 empty homes and we have less than 40,000 people on the street, it's the math is very clear to me. You want to keep your home empty, fine. Then you should have to pay for that. But you should not be able to write that off as a loss while we have people out on the street, especially not in the richest country on earth.
Yeah. I think, I don't have about statistics, but probably the same situation in LA as well. I think it's happening everywhere, and also, I think that it's kind of universal. Other countries too, like in Japan. I know it's the issue in major cities like Osaka and Tokyo. All these empty homes, and while there are people on the streets. So yeah. I mean, we need to do something. Yes.
Do they have like a huge homeless problem in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten worse in the pandemic. It's a big city problem, right? So yeah, cities like Tokyo and Osaka, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, when the solution is so clear, I mean, I can't express enough just how frustrating this is when the solution is so clearly in front of you, and what the current system that we're in is benefiting such a small number of people. You know,
Mm,
small, very small number of people that are benefiting from the current corruption, and then that small number of people is able to pay off another very small number of people who then create the rules for the rest of us.
mm,
It's
mm.
it's it's just not right.
Yeah, yeah. It just all goes back to this, money in politics, and I'm really, frankly, very disgusted by it, and sometimes it's discouraging to think that um, elected the elected politicians are all so greedy and selfish that they are just counting dollars, the dollars that they can directly benefit from, and they are really not thinking about what benefits this country and the people, but
To me, it's just so arcane. You know, I come from a pet background, right? Like I own a pet care business, and to me, it's like when the dog does good, you give the dog a treat, right? And obviously, we all like money, right? Money is a motivator, but it's like, for crap's sake, when you already have $100 million, like how much money do you need? You already have way more than enough money than you're going to be able to spend in your life. But it's like you keep the carrot in front of you, like, oh my god, I just need more. Like I just need more.
mm,
I can't help but think like, so that's so arcane. Like we're going back to the prehistoric age. Like
yeah.
it's so ridiculous. Like,
Mm,
but at the same time, this has real implications. This has real lasting implications for our economy, you know, for
mm,
humanity, for our society. If we can't get people in houses, how the hell are we expected to overcome this pandemic? I was reading
yeah.
a statistic the other day. 300 homeless people died that they know of, during 2020 here in San Francisco. Mind
Mm,
you, I talk to people all the time who were telling me that one statistic that is not very heavily reported on is how many homeless people freeze to death. Now that's here in San Francisco.
yeah.
I can only imagine what it must be for New York, what it must be for Washington, D.C., and some of these other cities where it really gets cold.
Minnesota. Yeah. God. Yeah. 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 So the David Kim, who is running for Congress
Love
in
David.
LA. I mean, his tweet a few days ago pointed out 5 unhoused people die every day in LA. I did not know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that really shocked me. E 5 a day. Um,
These are like these are human lives, people like can we not get to a place where we are devaluing human life so much? You know, like and again, this is my perspective is I come from the life where, you know, people I've witnessed people spend $30,000 to get their dog's gallbladder removed, right? And I'm gonna set my opinions aside about that. But humans, you know, people, like every single one of these people has a potential, has a reason, has a purpose, you know, and we are letting these people die on the street. It's a simple policy choice, right?
hmm,
There is something we can absolutely do about this, and we're choosing to look the other way. It's not right,
yeah,
to say
I
the very
agree.
least.
I agree. Okay. Let's go to the next topic because it's like I don't know. Yeah, okay. So guys, I'll just let you guys know who are watching. There are no good news here. Sorry, it's kind of depressing today, as usual. But okay, let's go to the next one. It's like I think we are just having a really crisis of humanity. Okay. Oh wait, sorry. I just kind of skipped this, but let's see.
Just what we were talking about,
Oh,
the
okay.
pros
Yeah.
of keeping people working remotely, but let's talk about another important community. And I will let you take this one away, Sukru.
Yeah. God. So, I think, let's see. I talked about this with, Lisa Theobald when she came on, first as co-host. I think it was like one of our first episodes, if not the first. Anti-Asian American violence, and because it was like really like right after the anniversary of, I hate this word, I mean useful that, but 1 year anniversary of the Thai gentleman killed in San Francisco.
Visha, right? Visha, right?
Yeah, and we had like nationwide rallies like in 6 different cities on that very day. So we talked about that in this news show. But okay, what bothers me is that, so when I talk to um some non-Asian people, my dear friends, they speak it as if they speak this anti-Asian violence, as if, oh yeah, it was so bad, during the first part of COVID, because of what Trump said. But guys, I just have to say that it's not. It's still here, and I feel like it's getting worse. And nobody is talking about it. No major news media reporting. And this is a crisis, and it's like, it's frankly, I just kind of have to go to my personal space to talk about this. And I was actually afraid to do that, but I confessed to Eric, like before we started the show, that looking at the news, in like New York, LA, San Francisco, all these major cities, it just scares me. I'm frightened. As I said, I don't go to work. I mean, I work from home, so I actually can avoid going out. And I actually haven't been out that much, I confess. I mean, another reason is because I don't own a car right now. But anyway, it just scares me to be out on the streets, because I just really fear, because people getting slashed with the knife, right? People getting pushed into trains, people getting stabbed. 2 weeks ago, like in Koreatown, LA, this older gentleman got stabbed to death. I didn't even know about that, because no mainstream media reported it. Only Korean newspaper printed it, and I heard about it from my peer at the PANA, Progressive Asian Network for Action. But I mean, it's happening, and it's not, unless like we, not only Asian people, but we collectively like raise our voice and do something about it. It won't stop. It's gonna get worse. Many of us are getting killed. Sorry.
No, don't be be sorry. So here in San Francisco, we have a huge Asian population. Um, I think 40% of our city. And back when these attacks started first making headlines in the media about a year and a half ago, I very publicly said on a lot of my platforms and to my friends, I said, look, if you are out on the streets for the Black Lives Matter movement, I expect you to be out on the streets in support of Asian lives. One thing that I don't participate in is the struggle Olympics. I don't think that anybody has a right to say that any one group is going through something harder than another group. I think that we are all, groups have their issues, groups have things that they're going through. And one thing I don't want to happen, I don't want to see happen, is different minority groups being pitted against each other. I want to see us support each other and come out in force, come out in full force. Um, Actually, can we switch to the next slide, because it's some good news. Let's talk about something good that's happening. There's an organization here in San Francisco that's known as Asians Are Strong, and in a second, I'm going to tell you about an event that they're putting on. But before we talk about that, I just I put this slide up in particular because I really, really love their mission statement. I love why they chose the name Asians Are Strong. So I'm just going to quickly read this. Anti-Asian hate, it's a complex issue and must be addressed internally by the Asian community and externally with other allies and groups. First, we must rebuild the confidence within our own community. The surge in violent anti-Asian hate crimes is destroying our community physically, mentally, and emotionally. And we are here to remind them that we are strong, that they are not alone, and we will change things. Second, it is to remind the world that the Asian community is strong. We are not easy targets. We are not passive. We will protect our families and community, and we will challenge the model minority myth. I interviewed a couple of my friends about a year ago when a lot of this was going on. A couple of my friends I went to high school with started fundraising to pass out pepper spray to a lot of the seniors in Chinatown. Here in San Francisco's Chinatown, we have a program where volunteers can sign up to escort Asian elders back to their homes. It's actually a very popular program. I still haven't been able to get on the list because there's so many volunteers, which is very gratifying. But back to what that said at the very end about the model minority myth. Actually, we have an Asian person here, so I don't even want to give the opinions that I've heard. But Tsukuru, why don't you tell us how you feel about that myth, the model minority, and what that does?
No, I was gonna actually comment, when you finish, but because thank you for bringing that up. So what's really encouraging to me, despite all that's happening, is like we as Asian Americans really came out, and we are really demonstrating our strength, and actually our history of resistance. People, mainstream, people and media and textbook really wants to paint the picture that we are this model minority myth, right? We are this really kind of like sheepish group of people, who are really who obey orders and and do not make trouble, right? We always resisted. If you look at the history of Asian American people here, as a recent immigrant, I had to make myself learn, history of the Japanese American people here. And I have a great admiration, great respect for the resistance that we put up, during the war, for instance. Okay. Many of us were put in internment camps, but within internment camps, there were riots, resistance, which people really do not talk about. Textbooks don't talk about that. But we have always been very, very strong. We have always, supported each other within our communities, and that's what's happening right now. As Eric, talked about in San Francisco, here in LA, my peers at Progressive Asian Network for Action, PANA, people out there in Koreatown every week, escorting seniors, especially, if they want to go out and, get some groceries, and if they don't feel safe to go out alone, they escort them, and they distribute, they hand out pepper sprays and whistles and stuff like that, supplies that they can use to protect themselves. So, it's really nice to see that our, Asian siblings coming out in a very, very, very strong voices. And so thank you for highlighting
that. Absolutely. This morning in particular, no 2 days are the same when you run a business and when you're running around San Francisco working. But I just so happened to walk through Japantown on my way this morning to come and meet with you. And it was so quiet. It was, the sun was just coming up. You see the Peace Pagoda and it's Peace Plaza out there. And you're so right. We taught the history of Japanese internment. We're not taught about the Asian exclusion, the Chinese Exclusion Act. We aren't taught about these things, all of these historical acts that I truly believe would help minority groups to realize how much we have in common and how imperative it is that we join forces and come together to combat the true enemy, which is white supremacy. That's what's really keeping us back, and that's what's really um, what we need to unite against. Can we move to the next slide? I want to talk
Yeah.
about an event that's happening here in San Francisco that I'm actually really excited about. So it's going to be happening on Wednesday, the 16th, from 3 to 7 at the Asian Art Museum, which is at the corner of Larkin and McAllister. So right across from City Hall, right next to the main library. This group, Asians Are Strong, are putting on this event on the 1 year anniversary of the Atlanta spa shootings. They're going to have workshops, self-defense workshops. They're going to be handing out supplies. They're going to be giving out all these different resources. So I would highly encourage, if you are in San Francisco, to show up for this event and to promote it, because obviously this is a community that right now we need our help. We need to help them. We need to put the focus on them. And they had their inaugural event was incredibly successful. I'm very excited that they were able to book the Asian Art Museum. I don't think actually that I've stepped foot inside that building yet. So this is something that's happening in San Francisco, 3 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday. And I know that we also have something similar happening in LA.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Before I go there, though, I just wanted to say something really very important to me, actually, and I really appreciated you encouraging us to do this story today, because so Atlanta spot shooting was almost a year ago, March 16th, right, as you said, and I remember that day. I think like many of us, I was very, very emotional. I think I cried all day.
I did a little bit.
Because so I'm trans, but I lived my life, socially recognized as Asian woman for 49 years. And that comes with a lot of baggage. So Atlanta spot shooting touched on intersectionality of issues, right? Which actually, unfortunately, I don't think, unfortunately, are not talked about enough. I think Asian women, they talk about it. I heard them talk about it because they are the ones who experienced that. But it was not only violence against Asian, but it was violence against women and Asian women particularly, and also people of certain profession that mainstream society is so quick to look down upon, like they are dispensable. And that really bothered me, and that really actually hurt me inside, because I think a lot of times, to be honest with you, not to create not to create discord, in our own community, but frankly, from my own experience, even within Asian community, I think Asian women are subjected to a lot of discrimination, prejudices from our fellow Asian men, and that's how I experienced a lot of hate, and a lot of a lot of roadblocks, intimidation, a lot of that from Asian men. So I feel that should be called out as well. I think within our own community, we should be we should be better, meaning that, like, Asian men uh should learn to respect women, um not in the mentality of protecting us, because no, but respecting us, respecting our strength, and I still say our, because that's like, my experience comes with that. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, so I just want people to think, because the Atlanta, spa shooting anniversary is coming up. Yeah, just think about, not only like Asians and the Asian women, but like, people in sex industry, sex work, um, and how we discriminate against people of that profession, and we should do better as a society. Yeah. So
Can I add something really quickly? Here in California, well, we're in California. Here in Northern California, I should say. A few years ago, there was a horrific rape on the Stanford campus. I
yeah,
think most of us are fairly aware of that case. It was this disgusting case where the judge was fairly lenient because he didn't want to ruin the person's
yeah,
life. Something that I found particularly interesting about that case is that they did not notify the public until they took them a while for them to notify the public that it was actually an Asian woman and it
yeah,
was an Asian student. And I remember hearing a statement from the girl that was raped. They kept her as Jane Doe for so long, and she said that she felt it was very important that they release that the public know that she was in fact Asian, because it feeds into this stereotype that Asians are weak, Asians are, that they're subservient, that they kind of just went along with all of this. And I'm not going to go into the details of what happened that night, because we not only do we not have time, but it's a whole different story. Um, it's I'll put it this way. When you find out the real details about what happened and you find out exactly what this guy did, it's very hard to paint the picture that she was leading him along. It's very hard to paint the picture that she had it coming or that she asked for it. When you actually take into, as a matter of fact, she had a boyfriend. She was already in a relationship, So that's just one little story that I kind of wanted it to tie back to, because I know that, like you said, there's a lot of discrimination against sex work. There's a lot of discrimination against, massage therapists and that kind of profession. But the thing is, this is happening on Stanford campus. Like, it doesn't get much more prestigious, and high achieving than that. We have to treat our spa workers, we have to treat our sex workers, we have to treat people who are in all different professions the same as we're treating people who are go to prestigious universities, because it's a pervasive problem.
yeah,
And anyway, I just wanted to add that little bit.
yeah. No, thank you. I mean, I know. Yeah, I have a lot to say. It's like whole another subject, but yeah.
Right.
Thank you. God, yeah, that guy.
Asshole.
Yeah, I know. All right. Oh yeah. I almost forgot. Hold on. Yeah. So I was gonna say, yeah, yeah. So yeah, this Saturday, March 19th, in Orange County, Wintersburg. It's like maybe like an hour away from LA. Yeah, the this rally is happening because there was an arson at this historic Presbyterian church, Japanese church in Wintersburg, and there had been like previous to the incident, there have been like harassment and intimidation against people who were involved in the preservation of this church. So they are suspecting hate crime. Hate is the motivation of this arson, and local Asian community, including the group that I mentioned, PANA, that I'm associated with, they are asking further investigation to the issue. They don't want this to just like to be erased, as like just another fire.
Swept under the
There
rug.
was something that's motivated. Actually, last year, a local church in LA, I mean, a local temple, Buddhist temple in LA, they had an arson as well. Luckily, it didn't really spread into like a main building or anything like that. So um, there was, the damage was like sort of like minimum, which was good. But anyway, so yeah, if you are in the LA, greater LA area, yeah, so it's March 19th, 12 noon to 1 p.m. So please go and support this effort to get to the bottom of the issue. So thank you. Yeah, okay. So another heavy
On to our next
subject.
topic.
Yeah.
Whew. I chose this photo in particular because this is at a hearing, and you'll notice that there are two reserved seats. I'm not mistaken. This is in the front row, but basically one seat is reserved for a transgender child. The other seat is reserved for the parent of a transgender child. And the reason why they are empty is because transgender children and their parents and their allies, etc., have become too scared, have become fearful for their own safety to where they don't even feel comfortable attending the hearings that are deciding the implications of their own lives. The implications of legislation is going to have a huge implication for them. Absolutely. I mean, I can't even bring the words out for how absurd and how cruel this is. What is going on in Texas? Affecting trans youth, and yeah, I want to hear more from somebody who has some skin in the game with this issue, who is a little closer to this.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't. Okay, so we were talking about another article about what's happening in Texas, and specifically talks about this family who was being investigated for child abuse, right? Given the Governor Abbott's call to criminalize, gender affirming care for kids. And I mean, okay, so I did hear about, that's like what, like 2 weeks ago, Governor, the statement. I heard about that, but I did not expect, people. I just when I heard people are some families are actually being investigated, I felt like, okay, it's 2022 in the United States of America. Is this happening? I mean, I just can't believe it's happening, but I guess I'd better believe it because a lot of crazy things are going down right now, and I think people need to pay attention. I don't want to be cliche, but that quote in Nazi Germany, right? That people like that quote that people always quote about, like, okay, so what's happening? In the beginning, like, happens to someone else, and you keep quiet, and it's happening to different groups, and then before you know it, it happens to you. You know,
That's a really good
so
way of putting it.
yeah, I mean, maybe okay, maybe people are thinking, oh, it's just Texas right now.
Right.
It's just transgender people right now. No, the shit's getting really scary. Um, Actually, sorry to introduce another topic, but before we got on this broadcast today, Eric and I were looking at this news, like development, like really actually very negative development in abortion in Texas, right? I mean,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, somebody, I guess, congressman, is he? Yeah. Anyway, like,
I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah. So some, bill was introduced to,
I think it was in their assembly, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
there was a yeah. Go ahead. There was a bill introduced.
yeah, introduced to give women, and actually whoever aids in this in abortion, severe punishment as severe as death penalty. I mean, you'd better believe it. It's on that hill that media. So yeah, look it up, the hill. And it's there. I thought it was a sort of a bad joke, but no, it's not a joke. But anyway, so yeah, I just feel for God. I mean, I more than feel for families of transgender kids and transgender kids themselves right now in Texas, because I mean, I've actually heard that some people are trying to get out of Texas. They're going
Well, what do
over.
you do? Like, God.
Just breaks my heart. It just um yeah.
Before we go to the next slide, where we actually have a personal story from somebody who's physically, being affected by this, I very quickly want to just touch back on what you mentioned with the death penalty and the miscarriage or the abortion case. So it's not quite similar, but it reminds me to what happens in El Salvador, the country where my mother is from. And they have one of the strictest anti-abortion laws, to the point where if you get a miscarriage, or if you miscarry, you can be thrown in jail for attempted abortion. I was just reading a case earlier where they attempted to do that, or they are in the process of doing that with a woman here in California. So guys, just like Tsukuru was saying,
that's crazy.
Here, get my arrows right. Just like Tsukuru was saying, like, that hits a lot closer. I mean, it's not just Texas, honey. Like, it's happening right here in California. I believe it was like Fresno, like the Central Valley. Why on earth isn't that making headlines? We're throwing people in jail for miscarrying? Again, that's what happens in El Salvador, where they have a dictator, basically what he is. Not here in the United States, where what Rachel Levine is a 4-star general, right, with the first trans woman who serves on health, and it's really messed up. I don't know exactly what her title is, but she's very high up in the government, and yet we have this going on in some of our states. Asinine.
Just crazy, yeah.
I'll go ahead and let you read. Okay. This is just a personal story of a transgender girl.
Yeah. Every couple of months. God. Okay. How do you pronounce his name? Adamales Vigil drives 8 hours from the Rio Grande Valley to North Texas, so her 13-year-old transgender daughter, Adeline, can receive health care. They talk and sing the whole trip. The care she receives there is unavailable in her hometown, but pivotal to her sense of identity and her mental health.
That last 2 lines, those last 2 words, those are what I want to focus on for my bit anyway. Mental health. So anybody that has done even the smallest bit of research about what transgender people have to go through, overwhelmingly, transgender individuals have a huge suicide rate, astronomical suicide rate. And I think that people, on no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we can all agree that suicide should not even be on the table, right? That we want to do everything possible to stop people from taking their own lives. So if we know that receiving gender affirming care, that being able to have somebody to talk to go through your transition, if we know that that's keeping you alive, that's keeping you happy, that's keeping you mentally stable, with all, pardon my French, but why the flying fuck are we trying to take that away from people? And here's at the very bottom of this, why, if these people are not hurting anybody, why do we care so much? And us also in a country where we have to pay for our own damn healthcare anyway.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm. And also, okay,
eight
so I was
hours, 8 hour drive. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
I was reading like, another article, I think. So I know some people like object and say like, oh, but like maybe like these kids really, they're confused. Maybe they really do not know. Maybe they just think that they are, transgender. Okay, the gender affirming care at that age that they get, it's actually reversible. It's not even like as drastic as people think. So it's like I just want to tell people like calm down, okay? Calm the fuck down, okay? Because it's like it's not what you think.
And this is the perspective that we need, from somebody who has some skin in the game. Yeah, tell us.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, it's really, people, because that's like the major argument people make, right? Because young people may not know exactly like what they're going through. And yeah, I guess if, and okay, so hormone treatment too, though. So hormone treatment, that's what I read, anyways. I mean, so like some uh non-transgender people get hormone treatment as well, right? Some people,
Right.
because like they have hormone deficiency. And but I mean, obviously these treatments are not considered abuse. They are medically
Right.
necessary treatment. So like, in terms like what actually is being done, there's like no difference between transgender kids and non-transgender kids in terms of like hormone treatment. What they do is the same. It's just that it's perceived differently. um yeah, but I guess it's the same argument that like, trans haters like just always go to, because they want to say that like, biological given or biological bodies, dictate your gender. So, we are not allowed to do anything about that, I guess, in their minds. But anyhow, yeah, so like, um yeah, that these like blocker that they talk about, it's really, I mean, it's not what people think. People just really uh have the wrong notion of what blocker is. It's actually used for non-transgender kids too in some cases. So yeah, anyway.
That's again, that's a perspective that not all of us have. That's something that not all of us know about. But I think so. I remember in like the 9th grade, my first year of high school, I was in health ed class, and this was one of the discussions that we had. We talked about transgender individuals. We talked about the differences between the male and the female bodies, and not to get all scientific on people, but at the end of the day, the differences between males and females really comes down to concentrations of hormones. That's really what it boils down to. And who are you, theoretical you, anybody, to tell me or anybody else what I feel and how I feel inside my head and how I want to present inside of my body, right? Who the hell are you? And how am I hurting anybody? How is Tsukuru hurting anybody? How are these people hurting anyone? I think that's, I don't know. For me, that really opened my eyes a little bit. And then some things that actually experiencing and forming relationships with transgender folks later on down the road.
Yeah, so Brandy is saying, yeah. With Myers, they typically use hormone blockers. Yes, and another comment that if they stop taking them, all it does is their bodies stop producing hormones again. Yeah, thank you, Brandy. Yeah, so I mean, people should just calm the fuck down. I mean, sorry.
But mind you, there was a time when we were terrified of in vitro fertilization. Was it in vitro fertilization that we thought the kid was going to come out like a monster? Remember that?
Yeah.
When we did the first implantation, and when you get down to it, I mean, it's so simple. It's like well, all we're doing is, physically putting the egg inside, right? Like we're fertilizing the egg and then physically putting it inside the uterus. Like, like what's the difference? But, and then I remember they were so scared that the kid was going to come out like a mutant, and they were so shocked that, oh, it's just a normal baby. That's kind of how I compare the two, is that we are so ignorant in society.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, so what's the next? Oh, sorry. Okay, so but Texas case though, what really bothers me, and it's not okay. It's not only Texas, but and okay, so transgender kids and transgender people, I think, are just being used as an easy target for these politicians to gain, points, for to get them reelected. Yep. And that's what disgusts me. They're just picking the easy target, and that's us.
So right. You're so right. Because remember when they did when they came out with the abortion rule? Hold on. People in Texas were all, excited about it. Did either senator from Texas in the U.S. Senate say a thing? They kept their damn mouth shut because they know damn well that is not a popular stance. It's something they use to run their mouths. They use it to a very select group of people to collect their donations. But at the federal level, the sentiment towards abortion is changing. Ted Cruz didn't really have much to say. Neither did the other guy. Was it Corin? At the federal level, they weren't really all excited about what was going on in Texas because they know that the sentiment is changing towards that. And that, in fact, like Tsukuru just said, it's a control mechanism. It's an easy target so that they can speak to a very, very particular group of people.
Yeah.
At the expense of, innocent Americans.
Yeah, so with the 2 minutes that we have, I just want to do kind of like a shameless plug on my other show. Yes, actually, I'm very excited. Tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern, my other show, Project True, will be on. And I am actually inviting somebody from medical industry, medical profession, transgender woman. Brandy introduced me to, and I'm just really excited because I can learn from her, about all these issues that I actually touched on today, because I really have a lot to learn, still. And also, I believe next Monday, I'm having maybe a girl on the show on my Project True. And Yay! I just think that, she is a transgender, non-binary transgender person who is running for Congress in my district, actually, in LA. And, I think having somebody like her is really, really important. Representation is really important. And she's doing such a great work. She was speaking to a gay straight alliance in a school in Tennessee, I think, last week. And God, these acts of empowerment is so important right now. So
no, I'm so glad that you brought that up in the remaining time, is that this is why representation matters. Like, if we have at least one, or we have more, an increased number of transgender individuals in a legislative body, it's going to be harder for them to push laws, that don't favor trans individuals. But when you don't even have a single one, that's why,
right.
It's how these things can happen. But yes, I'm 100% believer in that. Representation absolutely matters. And my little shameless plug is that it's not up to the people that are overrepresented in society and in government to be running their mouths about who should and shouldn't be represented. That's just what I'm going to say.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Oh, and before I forget, Daniel Wilson for California Assembly, fellow trans man. So yeah. All these people, all these candidates, really are very exciting. Okay, so that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, guys, for watching and listening. And we'll see you next
We'll see
week.
you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, where is the outro? Sorry. Okay.